Hello. So, we've been trying this for so many times. So, anyways, Adrian Bradley from Thriving Childcare is going to join me. We are going to be talking about AI, which is artificial intelligence, and how to use that to make running your business easier. All right. Okay, so Adrian wants to join. Okay, now it's working. So now I know we have to use our phones and not the computer for this. So I'm going to bring her on. Send invite. What do you mean send invite? Adding. When you come on, say hello just so we'll know you're here.
Hey,
And so we could, oh, God,
finally.
the end. We can go now.
Oh my
So now we
goodness.
know we have to use our phones, not our mighty computers.
The irony is I'm going to be talking about
I mean,
technology.
they should make this easy. Hey C's Daycare. Thanks for coming in. It's nuts.
Oh my
It's nuts.
gosh. Hi there.
I don't know if you want to share this to your group, Adrian. Uh, oh, there we are. I wouldn't even know how to do it from this point.
Okay.
I know,
Well, I
huh?
don't want to change that.
Okay.
In the middle
And
of play.
well, you guys can't share this because we're in a group, so well, that's okay. Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm going to go grab something. But anyway, yeah. So with
I
all that,
know.
with all that build up,
I'm
for you
good
today,
finally.
Denetra.
I feel like I've accomplished something now that we figured this out. Yeah.
That's true. That is
Yeah.
true. Gosh. No, I was thinking about what I was going to say when I got talking to you today, and I was thinking my daughter just
Hmm.
came for a visit over the weekend, and she just lives upstate, or she's just moved upstate, but she was homesick, so she came home for a few days, and she was packing up to go back yesterday, and I saw her packing one of my curling irons, and I was like, "Whoa, what are you doing?" She's like, "What? I
No.
thought that was mine." I'm like, "No, you
Oh
didn't."
my goodness.
But I was thinking about her because she, she's like
Mm,
kind of like my Obi-Wan, and even though she's my daughter, she keeps me
yeah.
aware of things and wanting to find new things, And so I was just thinking about her when that happened. But um, something I was thinking about as far as the AI goes, she was one of the first ones to kind of introduce me to it because she wanted
Hmm.
us to get these Echo Dots, and this was years ago. This was years ago now, and we wound up having, I think there's
Oh, wow.
4 in my house right now. One, two, 4 or 5. I can't remember. One is the
Yeah.
one with the screen. Is called the Show. Um, but we got them, and I was just using them very, very lightly. Kind of like your phone. Not really taking advantage of
Yeah.
this technology. And one day she told me, she said, "It can set a whole morning routine for you." And I was like, "What?" And so she helped me set up a morning routine where it starts by waking me up, however I tell it to wake me up, and then it'll give me whatever news I want, or if I want a song to play or something like that. And then when she moved to the Bay, I was
Hmm.
out of the house a couple of days during the week, and our dogs were. I was concerned
Hmm.
about them having anxiety because one of them does. She definitely has, and she set up this whole routine for the dogs. It actually plays relaxing music, and it's queued up
Oh
for the days that
my
I am not going to
goodness.
be here. So yeah, so I was introduced and reintroduced, and she continues to get me to try new things with it and everything. So when when ChatGPT came on the scene, I was kind of like, oh, okay, I know what this is about. It's kind of just
Yeah.
more available, more accessible than just being in our phones or on the devices. We can actually have more access to it. So yeah. So and you really got me inspired initially with this months ago, and the first thing I could think of was how we can use this in our businesses to handle things that would normally
Yeah.
take us a while, or we wouldn't get to because of how busy we are. And if it could just lighten the load a little bit, I thought it would be great. But since then, I've found so many uses for this technology, and it's just a matter of a learning curve. So I know, having said that whole thing about me being introduced to some of the functionality from my daughter, I know that getting over that hurdle of just that learning curve can make a huge difference. It can make us very comfortable with it and show us that we don't need to, be nervous about using this, or trepidatious about using it. And we just need to figure out ways to use this technology for us, for
Exactly.
you know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Yeah, because you have dove right into this, and now I call you and say,
Mhm.
wait a minute, what's going on? Because with this platform, it's only limited to your own knowledge or your own, I guess, creativity. So I know you've created a whole workshop for daycare providers and childcare owners
Mhm.
on how to use this. So can you maybe give some
Mhm.
examples of applications in how they can use the chat to help them run their business?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So one of the lessons in the workshop, um, what I was able to do was to take something that I
Hmm.
had encountered in my business, which um,
Oh,
creating a new policy. Um, this was not a policy that I had initially, but it over time, and that usually is what happens in our business. We start running our business and we start to realize we might
yeah,
have all the generic stuff in place, but there might be that are specific to our business and things that we encounter that we need to either develop a policy about, or a
yeah,
procedure
yeah.
for, or whatever. And there was this time where um, some of
Hmm.
my clients, and it was more than one or two, were sending their children in these overalls. And these
Oh
were
my
children that
goodness.
were still in
Yep.
diapers. And so there would be this roll of, snaps and everything. And
Yeah.
what diaper time is like. You're trying to change a bunch of, and this would just add to, the whole thing. So I decided that was not
Hmm.
going to be allowed
Yeah.
anymore. They saved over the weekend. And so I had this policy. I developed it years ago in my own business. But what I was able to do was to go to the AI platform. And for this particular lesson, I went on ChatGPT. There
Hmm.
are other platforms as well. But ChatGPT is the one that everybody's talking about. So a lot of the lessons, I kind of focus on using that platform. But I went in there and I basically was able to give it the information behind
Hmm.
what I wanted to create. So I went to the platform, and the whole thing is
Yeah.
knowing how to talk to it. And that's called a prompt or a query, however you want to look at it. But knowing how to talk to it so that it understands what it
Hmm.
is that you want from it. Okay. So in this particular lesson, I went and I said, okay, I want to develop a daycare policy that addresses the fact that I don't want to allow any more overalls with
Hmm.
non-potty learned children. So I kept finding it. I didn't say it was all children. I said it was just the children that were not potty learned, that were still wearing diapers. And I wanted to develop a policy. And within seconds, it laid out this policy, because what it was able to do was crawl the internet and to see what policies, daycare policies are, you know, what they look like and the verbiage and so forth. So when it came back, it had things in it that I hadn't even said. It said, we want to make sure that we can, you know, address the hygiene of the children and make sure that they're always clean and so forth. And that the whole thing with the overalls is causing, you know, time and so it pulled from information that made sense because of what I was able to put in the prompt or the query to the platform. What I was able to do after that, because what it gives you is usually a very good first draft. It's not necessarily something you're just going to run with, because you might not have even realized there's a couple of things that you didn't include or what have you. But it's going to give you a really good rough draft, because it's going to do what I just said. It's going to crawl the internet and see what is typically in a policy similar to this, right? So it did that, and I was rather impressed. And then what I was able to do was say, okay, so now that we have the policy, I would like you to help me create a memo to go to my clients. And you might say, well, it already created the policy, but this is what I want to show providers. It can help you with these type of communications with your clients, because it can give you the memo. It can give you the email that you are ready to send. And with time being such an issue for us, or not having a lot of time, any time that you can save, believe you me, you're gonna appreciate. So this thing was able to give me, just like it did the policy, give me that newsletter or that email within seconds. And that I would have had to set aside time after hours to sit down and compose, and then, you know, consternate over it, and, you know, go back and edit and endlessly edit. And maybe I would have done that, or maybe I would have been too exhausted and just put it off and just let it go. I don't have to do that. When I have an assistant, which is what these AI platforms are, in this context, they can assist you with these tasks. There's so many other things that it can do, as long as you communicate with it what it is you want from them.
And I love the way you called it an assistant, because that's exactly what it is. It's like you're hiring someone and you're training them on what you need, and then it does it.
And if we can look at it that way, I mean, imagine, I don't want to, you know, give a persona to a
why not
platform, but if we hire somebody to do this, which we could, you know, of course could, there's the expense of doing that. Imagine that they would probably want to charge you for revisions, not to mention the time that it would take them going back and forth with you to get what you actually want, as opposed to me taking 5 to 10 minutes. And that's just because, you know, I'm trying to refine it or what have you. But it really would take seconds if I knew exactly what I wanted to say. If I wanted to do it and ask it to help me create a daily schedule for my daycare. My hours are from this to this. I want to include all of these different activities. Lunch, nap time is between this time. So if I'm giving it all those parameters, it's going to come back bang on, okay? And there might be just a few things to tweak, but imagine that's going to take you. And it can help you, because let's say you said, I want to do all these 10 activities, including lunch, nap, diapering, blah, blah. Maybe it's going to show you that you don't have enough time to do all of this, or you need to allot this amount of time for this, so huge time saver. Yeah.
Just
like my
I didn't think about doing not a lesson plan, but a daily schedule. Actually, I'm going to try that when we get off, just to see what comes up. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it took me years to kind of, I've had my daycare for over 20 years, but it took me years to get down some templates for emails and so forth. I have templates for emails that I send to prospective clients after they've toured. Well, it took me a long time to have the time to do that. You know what I mean? And then I would find it from the last time I sent it. And then, this can help you create one on day one. It can help you in the workshop. I have an exercise where we go through and we create a telephone script for our daycare business, so that, let's say somebody's reaching out and they are trying to get information about your daycare, and they call, and let's say it's after hours or what have you, because that's what people do, is call after hours, and you can know what information to leave on your message, whether you're a new provider or a seasoned provider, that gives them information about your daycare. And there's the thing about what I'm saying is, of course we could do it on our own. Of course we could.
Yeah.
But it's the time involved that
it's the time, and then trying to come up with what to say, how to say it, all that.
Yeah. I always wanted to be very professional, and you know what would happen, especially if it was an issue. If I got tired during the week, like Thursday is usually my cutoff, when I'm just like done. I'm just floating through the rest of the 2 days. So I wouldn't always have the ability to compose things the way I wanted to, and have to take time to separate my, to marinate on something and really, calm myself down and say it the way I want. Well, if I'm using a platform like this, ChatGPT or some of the other platforms, it can do that. If I tell it, listen, I want this to be very lighthearted. I want to say to a parent, please don't bring the diaper bag anymore. We have cubbies here, and the diaper bag is actually a tripping hazard because we have so many. I actually had that situation with the car seats.
Yes.
And I remember one day going to my foyer, and there were a line of car seats. And I was like, first of all, this is a tripping hazard. Not only for kids, but for me. Okay. So I had to develop a policy or a memo or something to say, please, figure this out. I know there's different parents that are drop off or whatever, but maybe I don't have the ability. I'm tired and I can't compose that the way I want to say it. I go to this tool and ask it to compose something very lighthearted that conveys the information that I need to go to my clients. But there's so many things. I see a lot of applications for communication between the client and the provider, but also, like I said before, with scheduling, maybe making an end of the day cleanup list.
Especially if you have employees. Yeah.
Exactly. Take your process, and the process, right? What your process is at the end of the day. But if you had to hire an assistant, could you explain it to them? Well, if you use this tool to get it out of your head and, down in, what do I want to say? Down in documentation, very easily can do that for you. Or it can pull from what something like that would usually look like, and give you a template to go for, and then to start with, and then you can find it and say, oh, okay, well, can you add this? Can you add this? Can you add that? And it can very easily do that, and then put it in a format that you can run with, and at least you have, like I said before, a very good first.
So how would you say this is different from Google or Yahoo search or any other search engines?
So the search engines are just that. They're typically going to give you an overview of the question you asked, or just regurgitate the question that you asked, give you very short snippets. They're not meant to give you comprehensive replies. Okay. They're going to answer a question. And that's what I was actually doing with my Echo Dot. You know, I would ask it. My husband would say something, and I was like, that doesn't sound right. Let me ask. Let me ask. And so settled all kinds of arguments in the house. But instead, the AI is, like we said earlier, it's more of an assistant.
Yeah.
It can help you think of things that you wouldn't. When you go to Google, you kind of have to know what you want to ask Google, what you're searching for. Okay. In the AI, it is going to maybe take something that's adjacent to what you're asking for and kind of pull that in and pull that together. And you could say, well, no, I don't need that information. But let's say it's something that you didn't think about. Oh, like I said, with the policies, you know, it pulled in information. I should show you what it said, but it basically said in the memo to the parents about the overalls, it said, I know that you are just as concerned as we are in keeping a safe and healthy environment for your child. Who's gonna?
Yeah.
I didn't say that. I didn't think of it. I was tired, right? I was tired. I'm not thinking. It's thinking. It's thinking. Yeah. And I know that sounds a little scary, but like I said, if we use it to help us to make our life easier, then it's not something that we should fear. It's something that we should use. Okay?
Right. Because all it is us as a whole, America or the world, giving it information, and then it just simulates that information back to us as we ask. Right. So what would you say to a person that might be fearful of this technology?
Well, just like in most things, there are going to be bad actors. Excuse me. Every time you go to talk, you have to cough. There are going to be bad actors, right? But you can imagine a time, I know during our lifetime, where ATMs came on the scene. Okay? Now, right?
Oh, goodness.
Now, that sounds crazy, right? You can't imagine a world without ATMs. Well, there was a world without ATMs, but now, if you don't know how to use that technology, then you're limited. On the weekend, you don't have access. If the bank's closed, you're out of luck. So, looking at this technology for the uses that I'm talking about as far as business goes, it's not that we should fear. There are going to be bad actors. There's going to be, they're talking about the kids using this to do their assignments and so forth. And I feel for the teachers. I really, truly do. But it may be a time where we have to, as a society, change the way we do things because there are going to be bad actors. It's just like spams and different things that go on. They still go on. But we as society have to learn how to deal with that now because the technology is not going anywhere.
It's been here. Yeah.
It's here. Right. It's been here. It's been here. And so in this situation, if we can use it to be that employee, be that assistant that we may or may not be able to afford to hire, that's available to us 24/7.
For free.
That can accomplish for free.
For now, anyway,
That can, in a matter of seconds to minutes, take us hours, then that's what we should do. That's exactly what we should do. Of course, just like social media has turned into this scary thing, but we have to learn to manage it for our uses in the right way. We can't control what other people do. We just have to be prepared.
So now, is there anything that you would discourage someone from doing with this platform?
Absolutely. just like in most situations when you're on the internet, you don't want to share personal information. You don't want to put those type of
Mm-hmm.
things like names and so forth in that
Mm-hmm.
environment. That would be my
Yeah.
advice, not to do that. Just to make on platforms like ChatGPT, it has been programmed to not give inappropriate responses. It's not going to write out a legal
Mm-hmm.
contract, okay? Because it does have the it. There are times when it's not
Yeah.
giving completely
Yeah.
accurate information, okay? So you wouldn't want to take a contract, even if it would give it to you, and just run with that. You would want to have a legal person look at it and make sure that
Mm-hmm.
it is binding, and that you've covered your bases. You've covered the things that you need to have in a contract. But
Yeah.
they're still working on this technology. It's still being and developed. And with the feedback that early adapters are giving it, it's probably going to wind up being quite a bit
Yeah.
different over time. But just use the normal common sense. I know common
Subjective.
sense is
Yep.
not common, but it, it's subjective. But just like in our
Yeah.
environments where we want to protect the children and the family we serve, I wouldn't put in those type of things, names, addresses, phone numbers, things like that. I would not put in. The chat will give you spaces for you to insert the information in your final document. So if you were going to copy over, what I typically do is copy over a chat that I've
Mm-hmm.
had. Let's say it was that policy. I'm going to copy and place that over to maybe a Google Doc or a Word doc. And then I will input my business name, maybe my license number, my phone number, those type of details, but it's going to be on my
Right.
platform, not
Okay.
on their platform.
Okay.
So that,
Okay. So yeah,
mhm,
anything that's proprietary to your
mhm,
program, like if you have like a curriculum that you specifically created, you don't want to share that
yeah,
because the AI,
no,
unlike, well, it is like Google, but it kind of takes all the information people input and then it shares it out. Isn't that how it works? Yeah.
right, right. It's like a
Yeah.
compilation of all of those sources. I mean,
Hmm.
all the sources in the world are the ones on the internet. It's pulling that all together. So yeah, if you put in some of your proprietary information, you've now entered yourself into that pool. So it
Yeah.
could pull in. So those kind of details, I would not want to
Okay, cool.
put
All
into one
right.
of the platforms.
So now
Yeah.
this is kind of off topic, but it isn't because I know a lot of people out there they kind of resent technology now, especially since AI is becoming more common in people's day-to-day lives. They feel like it's stealing jobs, and they could
Mm,
have maybe a loved
mm.
one, a spouse or sister or someone that whose job has now been I guess outsourced to the AI. What would you say to them?
Mhm. Well, I'll say this from somebody who many years worked
Hmm.
in corporate America, and one day I was pulled into a meeting to be told with the rest of my um, coworkers that our whole department
Oh,
had been
geez.
outsourced. So I do know what it's like. And see, that's the thing with advances. We tend to want to hold on to what
Yeah,
is comfortable,
yeah,
what we know. Okay. But as a society, we're always advancing, we're always moving forward. So knowing how to use this technology opens up other opportunities. Okay. As much as we want to hold on to things, if there's a better way to do it, businesses, corporations, they're going to eventually move toward
yeah,
that
yeah,
efficiency. Okay. So instead of being upset about it, what
yeah.
if you learned it? There were people back, probably in your mother and my mother's age, that had to do all the calculations. There were movies about that.
Oh
And
gosh, yes, the
Hidden
calculators.
Figures was about that. Right. There were people, and they were called calculators. My mother was one of those people. She didn't work for NASA, but she was a mathematical genius. And they did all of this, longhand. You know what I mean? They did this, and they were eventually replaced by the machine. But just like in that movie, if you understood what was coming and you prepared for it and learned for it, you're creating the opportunity, because just like this, so many people do not understand it or understand how they can use it. And that's why I wanted to create this workshop, is to show providers, because sometimes, just like when I was talking to my daughter, sometimes I don't understand how it pertains to me, but somebody can explain to you how you can use it, then it becomes less scary, less something to resent, but something to embrace.
That makes a lot of sense. Because even for myself, I'm using it in my program and helping me create social media posts, newsletters, and things like that. Because as much as you want to use your own creativity, sometimes you just get stuck, Or what is it? What do you call that? What do you call that? Brain log? Brain fog? No, not brain fog. What is writer's block? Writer's block. Yes. And it
absolutely,
for me, it just provokes my mind in a different way. And it's like, well, you know what? I never thought about that. And it's not, I don't feel it like I'm stealing someone's information, because you still have to make it your own. And whatever doesn't fit you, you let it go. But in childcare programs, you can use this to create newsletters, like I said, social media posts, policies, letters to parents that you kind of have a struggle formulating. Like most of us, we go to these Facebook groups and we ask, what should I say, and all this other stuff. The AI can do that for you, and I think in a much more efficient way. I mean, there's really endless, and you probably have tons more ideas, than I have, because you've really been studying this thing.
I have, because I can see the applications. I can see it saved. I mean, I've talked about this before, but I did I guess it was a case study, and I took all the hours that a typical daycare owner works. I added them all up, and at the end of the year, we worked approximately, I think it was 2.5 weeks longer than the average worker.
I can see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. And your clients don't realize that. You probably don't realize that until you are absolutely almost burnt out, if not burnt. And so we need to mitigate some of this time. We need to get back and regain some of this time. And that's what I've been about for years, is trying to, make things easier so that we're not, I used to tell my clients, I spent 11 hours from the time I opened to the time I closed every day of the week with the children. And that was just with the children. That wasn't cleanup. That wasn't getting ready for the next day and all of that, and wake up in the morning and prepare. That's exhausting. Okay. So let's throw in more paperwork, coming up with policies. I would have a list in a notebook of policies that I wanted to create, and I never had time to do it. Or even if it's just to tweak something, maybe you want to change your tuition policy, okay? But you want to be able to explain it to your clients so that they aren't resentful, so that you don't feel like they're gonna, head for the door. Well, something like this can put it in a very professional way. You can tell it to be a little lighthearted or funny. You can have it address certain things, maybe during the pandemic. Can you imagine if we had this type of tool?
It would have saved so much time and frustration. Yeah. Exactly.
And that was a perfect example of when you're stressed out and you're having to still deal with all of these different situations. This can help you. How can I deal with this? How can I deal with that? Because you can also pose questions with it. Ask it how you can be more efficient with your time. I need to do this all week long. I need to do this, a meal plan and grocery shop and whatever. Lay me out a schedule so that I don't have to do it on the weekend. I would spend 7 days a week worried or thinking about my business and doing tasks and going to the grocery store and going and meal planning. And I didn't have any time for myself. You know what I mean? This could help you understand what your week can look like if you ask it to give you a schedule, if you ask it to give you a routine. So
I love it.
Yeah, I
love it.
see so many things.
So you're going to have a webinar explaining this even further. So when is the webinar?
So the webinar is next Thursday, which is the 16th, and it's at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern. And in the webinar, I talk about the different platforms because it isn't just ChatGPT. That's the one that everyone's talking about. That's one that's got so much press. There are others out there. And we talk about some different uses that I've used it for in my personal life. Then I talk about specific things that daycare providers like you and I can use for our business. And we talk about all of that, any specific fears that we might have talking about, talking about that. So,
So make sure I think you'll have to come back and drop the link so that people can register for that. Yeah.
I have the link, and then I couldn't get on my computer, so I'll do it on my desktop, but it wasn't working, so that's fine. I'll come back and drop the link underneath the video. But yes, please join me. I would love to show you how this new technology applies to us, how we can use it for good, and how we can use it for free.
Exactly.
Which is
exactly. You know what? And even if they did have a paid option, it would be well worth it. I mean, and I know they do, but you know what I mean.
It really, when you think about it, and they do, that because this is just introduced, right? So there's going to be paid versions, there's going to be iterations and so forth. But you're right. When I show you how many applications, and it's like you said, endless. When I show you the few and that you can build upon, you're going to see that, and I don't work for chat. I'm not saying anything. I don't work for chat, but it would be worth your investment in your business, because if you had to hire somebody to do all those things, and they would have to be knowledgeable in all those things, by the way.
And they would probably end up using the chat to help them.
If smart, they would absolutely.
Might as well go to the source.
Absolutely. But I hope your members, your group will join me. I will drop the link. And come and join us and learn about this new technology and learn how you can use it to, streamline and make things easier in your daycare business.
All right. Well, this was fun. I'm glad after 30 minutes we finally got this working. So next time it won't. We'll be able to hop right on. Yeah. And make sure you guys visit Adrienne's shop, Thriving Childcare. Tons of resources to make your life simple. Wait, I know you have a theme. Easier. Yes. So that you can thrive in your business. So so make sure you visit her shop, and she'll put a link of her shop in the comments, and also for the webinar that's coming up next Thursday. All right, Miss Adrienne, I will talk to you again soon. Thank you for coming on. I think this is important. Yeah. And you guys, I know some of you guys have your own groups, and some of you guys are childcare business coaches yourself. So I urge you to have Adrienne maybe come on, and she can explain it to your people on how to use this chat to make their business run easier. Yeah. All righty. Have a great day. Bye-bye.